June of 2016 marks the birth of a game that a lot of us either love, hate, or feel indifferent about, and that is Dead by Daylight. DBD has such a steep learning curve that people will say roughly 500 hours gets you out of the beginner tier, which depending on who you ask is a good thing or a bad thing. Basic features like FOV sliders are still not here. They're coming soon, very soon actually, in about 3 days as we're recording this video. However, I'm not sure if that's soon enough. However, what I personally have a problem with Dead by Daylight isn't really what a lot of people have. The lack of features I can really ignore. FOV slider can be completely amended by using a perk, but however, that does lock one of your perk slots completely out of commission. And I understand why some people don't want to do that. One of my big problems with Dead by Daylight that I personally have an issue with, and I know many other people do, is their lackluster colorblind system. As somebody with a more interesting colorblindness, it's really hard to distinguish some auras from some maps. So I do think that when it comes to auras, we should be able to customize our aura colors depending upon perks and different attributes. As someone who can't see a lot of colors in certain maps, it's really hard to distinguish. For example, on the maps where it's more of daytime, it's really hard to distinguish certain auras from the backdrop. The colorblind system is so basic that people have to use things like Reshade or the NVIDIA system to actually fix their colorblindness. Now before you say, oh, Reshade's a cheat and it gets banned by Easy Anti-Cheat, wrong. Reshade is actually whitelisted by Easy Anti-Cheat, so you can use it on Dead by Daylight and see no issues. But my main issue with Dead by Daylight that makes it almost impossible for new players to get into it is the perks, the killers, and the survivors. There is such a steep learning curve for so many of these different features, it's really hard to ever get into the game. I saw a video complaining about Dead by Daylight and it kind of threw a jab at Warframe. However, it's kind of hard to compare Dead by Daylight to Warframe considering Warframe has little to no 100% unfree, I guess you could say, or priced content. The only example you can have is Prime Cosmetics or Excalibur Prime. However, when it comes to skins, that's of course going to be pricey, but you can get a lot of them for free through trading with Platinum. However, pretty much 100% of the content is obtainable for free. Dead by Daylight, not the same. However, this wasn't always the case. You could use a weird shard offering system to pretty much do a trial version of killers. However, these killers won't have any add-ons or any perks, but you are able to try them out before you buy them. At times, you would do this in order to see certain killers you just wouldn't enjoy. For example, with me, I used mine on, I believe, Doctor, and when he first came out, he was a very clunky and not very good killer to play as or against. He wasn't fun for anyone. Now, he's just not fun for survivors. That shard trial allowed me to see that I wouldn't have fun with Doctor and not buy him, at least at the time. However, that shard system is completely gone, so now you have to buy the killer in order to try them out, and it's even worse for licensed killers, as you are completely unable to use free currency in order to buy them. Which makes sense, they are licenses, but that makes it so if the killer is weak or unfun, you don't get to find out yourself until you buy them. But the main issue with Dead by Daylight's killer problem, and also survivor problem, is that a lot of the really good and fun perks that are really effective are licensed killer perks at times. A lot of these perks that you see on constant builds by your favorite YouTuber, favorite streamer, will mostly always use, licensed killer perks. Meaning you will A, have to wait for the gods above to go on ahead and give you a perk in your Shrine of Secrets. Oh wait, never mind. Shrine of Secrets are actually shared between everybody, so it's not unique to you. It's a common misconception by a lot of new players that the Shrine of Secrets is 4 perks tailored just for you. In reality, that's not the case. It's 4 perks that the developers choose. It allows them to expand the exclusivity of certain perks to an insane degree where some perks have been in the game for years but have only been in the Shrine of Secrets maybe once or twice. This inherently is a problem as it entices players to buy the killer instead of play the game to obtain their perk, which is 100% fine. I feel like there should be a way to entice them. However, locking gameplay elements for not connected to that killer, like perks, is very stupid. Now, of course, there's multiple ways they could fix this. They can make both licensed and unlicensed versions of the perks. However, we don't know the exact wording of the licensing agreement, so we have no idea if that's even allowed. We do know once the licensing is cut and no longer a thing, they are able to use those perks as unlicensed versions, and we saw this with, for example, when Bill came to, or before Bill came to the Switch, he had unlicensed variations, and this also happened, of course, when Stranger Things was removed. all Stranger Things perks became base and could be unlocked in your Blood Web for free. But I guess the question is, would they do this for licensed? And how would they do that? Would they make it so pretty much all licensed killer perks are in the Blood Web as base? I'm not sure if that's the best of ideas, because it wouldn't entice players to ever buy those killers if all of them were just simply in their Blood Web already. Another solution I've seen online is, for example, allowing you to level unobtained licensed killers in order to unlock their licensed perks as teachables. While I do like this idea, it still stems on the idea as if this is technically allowed in the licensing agreement. Like I said, the licensing agreement isn't really known, and we also know that licensing agreements can be very fucking stupid at times. For example, when Pinhead was first released, there were NFTs released, and more than likely, Behavior had no choice but to agree in order to guarantee they can get the Hellraiser license in Dead by Daylight. Now, possibly this was something they couldn't wiggle out of, but it's also possible that they couldn't wiggle out of a licensing agreement that makes it so that they make it as difficult as possible to not get the perks versus getting the licensed killer. But like I said multiple times, what is the real solution here? I do think the Shrine of Secrets is a solution, but not right now. I do think the Shrine of Secrets is inherently a problem and needs to be more personalized, and here's what I would do. First thing and only thing I would do is make it so the Shrine of Secrets already existing 4 slots can be put towards 2 survivors and 2 killers, where all 3 of their teachable perks could be put into that slot. For example, one week you could have just Kate only having, for example, Witness Opportunity, while at the same time Meg is getting all 3 of her teachable perks all 3 of those weeks, while Kate still only has Witness Opportunity that entire week because it keeps on re-rolling all 3 of her teachable perks. And then, for example, if you have Plague and Trapper as your 2 killers where you want to get the teachables, Plague can have Corrupt Intervention 1 week, and the next week she can have Infectious Fright, and then like 4 weeks later she can have Dark Devotion. However, with the way the Shrine of Secrets is currently set up, I don't think anyone should put their money, or more specifically their iridescent shards, into this system unless it's for a killer perk that's licensed that you have no intention of ever buying that killer because it's licensed and you don't want to spend any extra money on, which I 100% understand and support. Basically, the biggest issue with Dead by Daylight for new players is the bar of entry is so high, a lot of people aren't really interested. They won't see a lot of reward for their time until up to like the 500 to 700 hour mark. They won't see a lot of their survivors be really high rank and really high skill, or they won't see their killers be super good. I can't see this entire idea like, oh, well, I get 3Ks and 4Ks every match, and I also get escape every single time. Cool. Not everyone's like that. You will see some P100s all the way down in the lowest of MMR. Trust me, I stopped playing Dead by Daylight for months. I come back, I'm still rusty, but I play decently well, and suddenly I see that there's P100s playing like some of the worst I have ever seen. And at times, I think they're either bot accounts or they're boosted accounts. I don't fucking know. A lot of the players aren't Otstarva level killers or aren't JRM level survivors. We can't loop killers at non-infinites for 700 years. We can't hold them like JRM, or we can't predict every single movement like Otstarva. However, the new player experience when it comes to playing as killer or survivor is so bad with the MMR system that sometimes they'll get pit up against or with people who are such a much higher level and experience that it's just not fun to play. When you roughly have maybe 20 hours in the game and you get matched up against a killer who has 27,000. Of course, that's an insane number, but you understand where I'm coming from by saying the matchmaking system oftentimes punishes you for doing well, even if you're doing well at a low rank setting. This inherently damages the fun aspect of Dead by Daylight for both sides. However, in Dead by Daylight, neither side is really entitled to fun. They are responsible for having their own fun. A way you can see Dead by Daylight as is a tug of war game, where instead of you're all pulling on a rope, you're pulling on fun. Whoever gets the most amount of fun enjoys the game more than the other side. Sometimes it's a 2v2 of tug of war, and sometimes it's a free-for-all where there's 5 people pulling on each side of the rope somehow. And I think that attitude really changes the way you play the game. If you try to have more fun and take the game less seriously, you'll inherently enjoy the game more. But that's 100% up to you if you want to do that. It's, like I said, this game is up to you. And that's the big thing a lot of people don't want to take responsibility for, is that they're entitled for their own fun, but they're not responsible for other people's fun. And that causes a bit of a disconnect for some people, because some people say, oh, you can't tunnel because it doesn't make me have fun. Well, why does the killer have to make you have fun? Isn't that your responsibility? Why does the survivor loop the killer very well and constantly pallet stun them? That's not very fun for the killer. So why do you do that? And I'm not saying just survivors have this entire unfun mentality. This oftentimes can happen with killers too, where they will complain about body blocking or taking hits or constantly taking aggro away from certain pressure points, and they complain about it when they're responsible for their own fun. Now, it's not saying that survivors and killers can't hurt or damage other people's fun, it's just that they're not responsible for it. You are responsible for your fun, and maybe your friend's fun if you play with them, or if you're the killer, you are responsible for your fun. Unfortunately, sometimes some things that you're responsible for are out of your hands and you can't do, which is why a lot of times it's unfun to play as killer or survivor in some matches that are completely unwinnable, even if it is your responsibility to have fun. And that's the big thing about Dead by Daylight, is that a lot of people either don't have fun, or when they do, they don't even enjoy that. People will oftentimes shame people for where they play because it makes them not have fun, which I will always endlessly critique that viewpoint, as it is very much flawed. To complain about how another person plays because it's considered unfun is childish. It's something akin to when you're playing tag as a 7-year-old and you go to a quote-unquote safe zone because you don't want to get tagged. It's the same thing with, oh, well, I just got hooked, so you definitely can't touch me. I've seen multiple killers complain about this exact same thing and be just as childish. It just so happens that the survivor player base is much bigger, thus a lot more complain to them about this. But is there a way to really fix this issue? Not really. But does that mean this issue can't be remedied in some capacity? Maybe. Behavior has an interest in changing or not enticing certain playstyles. For example, tunneling has been kind of not completely removed, obviously, because borrowed time is now base kit. And they even wanted to do away with slugging by adding that entire unbreakable base kit with entire more rework that never came to life. And like I want to keep on saying, just because behavior does not entice nor encourage certain playstyles doesn't mean it's against any sort of terms of service or rules. I constantly see both Twitch streamers, YouTubers, and some people constantly report people for slugging, for teabagging, for looping, for pallet stunning, for tunneling, for hitting on hook, all these things. Because this thing, for some people, it can be seen as quote-unquote toxic. For other people, it can be seen as just trying to win the game, which some people have more fun seeing that victory screen than they have seeing Entity is Furious screen. It's one of those things that the more and more you complain about basic things, like for example, people playing in a way you don't like, the more and more childish you look. But that is just one man's opinion. If you disagree with my entire opinions about how tunneling isn't inherently a bad thing, how slugging isn't inherently a bad thing, and you think I'm a trash survivor main, you think I'm a trash killer main because of my opinions, go on ahead and put that in the comments. I love to hear those things because it really just shows that you definitely know how to argue against me. How about instead of saying all those things where I'm trash, you actually try to tell me why tunneling is an issue and why it shouldn't be a thing at all in the game. But like I said, that's one man's opinion. Go ahead and voice your grievances or agreements in the comments below, as I personally believe that it's the best way to actually have a discussion to find the best solution for something. And the last thing I want you to do is be a parrot for me or against me. I would rather you have your own opinions and be able to come up with them on your own. Don't have your opinions clearly defined by big YouTubers that post videos. I have disagreed with so many different YouTubers on multiple different occasions, and yet I still agree with them on so many, and that's very important. But yeah, like I said, it's one man's opinion. Hope you all did enjoy this video. If you didn't, call me some racial slurs in the comments. I'm sure that would be really good looking for you. And without further ado, hope you all do enjoy the rest of your morning, rest of your afternoon, rest of your day, rest of your night, whatever it currently is for you. Bye.